be with you yesterday or last night. Lee and I really enjoyed that, and like she said, it's the bummer part is we did all the talking, and there's some unique, awesome stories in each one of your lives that we would have wished to have dig into and learn from you. So I'm not sure if that'll ever happen, but that would be pretty cool if it ever did. But right now it is 3 a.m, not when I'm filming this, but when you're watching this. And so rather than us come back and do it live and you get us at 3 a.m, which is probably not the best Brent and Leah, I thought we'd just film a little video and let you know kind of some of the things we have learned from leading from afar. Trevor and Susie asked us to share that. We actually lived on the ground at Cherish for over 6 years, and then we felt God call us back clearly to the States. It was a really clear call, and we are now back in the States leading from afar. Before the pandemic, we were going back 4 or 5 times a year, and then the pandemic hit, and we didn't go at all in 2020, and it's gonna be probably August, September, the earliest, before either one of us gets back this year. I'm having a knee replacement done in June, so that's kind of messing up all kinds of things. So this idea around leading from afar, we have been doing it for the last 4 years, and it has taught us a lot. We've learned a lot of lessons along the way, and we'd love to share them with you, not from a sense of here's how you do it, because every situation is different, every leader's different, every team is different. More from here is what we have learned from doing it the last 4 years. And most of those things, we've learned them as you go through a hard time or a mistake, and you're like, wow, we don't want to do it that way again. And so hopefully there's some things you can learn that we've learned that'll be helpful, so you don't have to make the same mistakes we made. So Lee and I sat down and just blank sheet of paper and just typed up, here's some of the lessons we've learned. So they're kind of random. This isn't like a all in order, makes sense, nice stream of consciousness. It's more just like, all right, here's one thing we've learned, and here's another thing we've learned. So let me start with the first one is accountability. You know that whole adage, you can't ask people to do, I forgot about it. You can't expect what you don't inspect. And so it's the idea that I have to be holding people accountable to the things I'm asking them to do. And that's difficult to do from afar. Because sometimes it is like legitimate people are being lazy or people not wanting to do their job. Other times it's they just forgot, or they didn't understand, or it's very innocent. But regardless, it still has to get done. And so that accountability piece is really important. So you have to figure out what is going to help you hold people accountable. Because from a distance, you miss a lot. And that accountability has to happen when you're actually in conversation with them, and also when you're not. So we'll kind of get into that as we talk through some of this. And the second thing we learned is the importance of one-on-one meetings. So we do team meetings and one-on-one meetings. Now, our team meetings are always with leadership teams. So we don't have any meetings that are like all staff. We do send a lot of videos. So a lot of YouTube videos. I do a lot of teaching. We do a lot of trainings, and those are videos that the whole staff will watch. So that does happen. But as far as like meetings, we do those in leadership teams we meet with, and then we also do a lot of one-on-ones with the key people we lead. So Sam is who I lead. We meet one-on-one twice a week, and we kind of have a template of a one-on-one document that's kind of keeps us on track. And that template has personal goals first and foremost, and then professional goals next. And those are all for the quarter. Those come off of the quarterly review documents that we do, these quarterly development reviews. And then the next section of that is what is the things we're going to discuss. So I'm always adding, and so is Sam adding to that discuss section. So when we do meet, the agenda is kind of already there because I thought, oh, I need to talk to Sam about this, and I add it. I need to talk to Sam about this, and he does the same. And as I'm adding, I'll see things he's added, and then I'll either go, I don't know what he means about that, so I just wait until we meet. Or, I know exactly what he means about that. Let me do my homework on this end, so when we get to that discussion, I already have what he needs. So it's a real helpful little tool. And then the third section is open tasks. So things move from the discuss section down to, okay, now these are the open tasks that are happening, and those get due dates by them, and we're able to keep track of the things that have come out of previous meetings. So that's kind of the template we follow, and that helps us hold them accountable. It helps everybody know what we're going to discuss. It just kind of keeps us on track. It also helps with personal growth, professional growth, as well as completion of tasks. So those one-on-ones are really important. We do mostly Zoom meetings from Afar. Now it costs more because we have to pay data per megabyte in Uganda, but those Zoom meetings are way better than just audio meetings. You already miss a ton when you're not in the room, but you really miss a ton when you have no visual contact, just audio. And so we pay the extra money to buy the data to do Zoom. There's just something about seeing faces. That's a really, really important thing. So that's a key thing for us. We do WhatsApp audio recordings, and those are helpful as well. And like random times, I just want to explain this to somebody or have a question about something, and we'll jump on and do an audio WhatsApp. So that's also a helpful tool. And in fact, we have a lot of collaboration tools. WhatsApp is a key one. Slack, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Slack. That is an amazing tool. They have a free version, and then they have a paid version. We end up using the paid version. It's $230 a month, I think, but well worth it. And everything happens on Slack. Email, we do zero email communication. Outside email communication we do, but nothing internal happens on email. That was a bit of a tough transition for our team, but we just finally said, all right, on this date, no more email will happen. And if anybody sends you an email, you must immediately delete it and not answer. And they were like, what? But that happened, and now Slack is amazing because you have these direct messages that do kind of act like email that you can direct message to people, and also you have these channels where you put people together. So like we have our hospital leadership team is all in one channel, our finance department's all in one channel. So you have these different channels. You can develop a channel based on an event. You can develop a channel based on a certain task that needs to be accomplished, and so you throw everyone in that group to accomplish that task. That's a huge tool. Really, really important. And it keeps track of everything. So it's really easy to go back and see. You can attach documents, you can attach videos. Great, great tool. Another tool we use a lot is Google Docs, Google Sheets, because, again, you can collaborate on that. So, like Sam will do up a document, and then he'll just share it with me. Then I'm able to look at the document, and he sends it to me in comment mode. So then I just comment on it. So I don't make changes. First, he sent it to me in edit mode, and that's how we used to do it. But then we realized it wasn't really that much of a teaching tool because I would just make the changes, and he wouldn't know what changes I made. So we now do it in comments mode. I don't think it's called mode, but comments. And then I make whatever comments I want, and he sees that, and he's able to make adjustments and changes. Or, no, I can't make that change, and this is why. And we end up having a good dialogue over that. So we use a lot of Google Docs and Google Sheets. Really important. We don't really use Word much at all. If it's outside communication, we do. But anything internally is Google. Communication is so key. We have this phrase that we use that is communication is our strength. You can't communicate too much. You can't over-communicate. There's never once been an employee that's ever worked at any company anywhere in the world who said, you know what, I'm sick and tired of all the communication I get. I just get too much of it. No. Likewise, you go into any company in the world and you say, give me the 5 weaknesses of your company, almost every time communication is one of those weaknesses. Now you add distance to that, and it makes it even more difficult. So you have to have some rhythms, some good rhythms of frequent communication. So we have these one-on-one meetings. You have to decide how often you do that. Like I said, for Sam, we do it twice a week. We have our executive leadership team meetings once a week. Slack is going all the time, back and forth with different things. So issues, most of the time, issues will start on Slack. Hey, what do you guys think about this? If there's a big explanation, it's a kind of a bigger issue, I'll wait till a meeting to bring it up. But if it's small things, they start on Slack. Because if they can be solved in Slack, you're just going to save time in a meeting. Because there's a lot of time wasted in meetings with like conversations that are happening with just 2 people. Everyone else is just sitting there. Or things that could have been solved beforehand very quickly and easily end up waiting until they're dealt with once a meeting comes. So we do a lot of communication with Slack throughout the week. And yeah, you just can't communicate too much. So you really have to come up and figure out what are our rhythms. And if it doesn't work, you change it. Doesn't work, you change it. Like we're always changing it. What about this? Maybe this team should meet twice a week now. Okay, now that team's meeting, that's enough. We can now back it up to 1. Like you're just constantly adjusting to make that communication work. A difficult one is this kind of dance you play between adjustment and your own life balance. So it's particularly if you're dealing with time zones. So Uganda is either 8 or 9 hours ahead of us, which means if we're going to have meetings with them, they start early. So 5 a.m., right now is 1 p.m. in Uganda. So we kind of have this window from 5 to 9 that we can meet with them. Because after that, it's 5 o'clock and it's shutting down and work's over. Now, sometimes we'll extend those meetings longer if we need. But that's kind of our golden time. So that's when we do it. Now, could we get up earlier? Probably. Could we stay up later in the night and have like an 11 or 12 o'clock at night meeting? Probably. But we don't. We've decided these are the time frames. If you want to have something done, it's going to happen between 1 and 5 Ugandan time. 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Stateside. And that's kind of where we've landed on that adjustment versus balance. Another key thing is relationship over task. That's a key one. It's hard because your relationship is purely based on this kind of digital interaction through Zoom or Slack or WhatsApp. But we have to really pursue relationship. We try to start meetings without jumping into the tasks that need to get done. But what happened this weekend? What's cooking with your daughter who was sick last week? And like push into the relationship piece. And we all know that, but it's weird. Like there's so much relational stuff that happens when you're in the same building, in the same place as somebody. When you're on a digital thing, you tend to jump right to the job and to the tasks too quick, and you miss out on the relationship piece. So you really have to push into that in those spaces that you have. And we'll share photos of things. For instance, I think I mentioned I'm getting a knee replacement done. Well, I took a picture of my swollen knee and sent it to the team. I want them to know, hey, this is what's going on with me. And likewise, you start to model that, and that starts to happen coming back. So you really have to figure out, how do we build a relationship? And you might come from a solid relationship, and now you're doing things digitally for a season, but you got to keep that relationship solid and even grow it. So you have to think through, how am I going to do that? So photos are great. On Slack, we do have a couple random channels. Like we have a channel that's Ask the CEO Anything, and people can just ask random questions. We have a channel that's called Family Photos, and you can post whatever photos you have or want on there. Just any way to keep us connected. One thing we really noticed quickly is that you just kind of miss out on just general observations. When you're in the same place as somebody and you're sharing a coffee with someone, you're bumping into them in the coffee room, You might have a lunch with them. Like, so much happens in those interactions, and you miss out on a lot of that when you're at a distance. And so you really have to ask a lot of questions. You really have to press into those people for who they are as people. And because of that, you also miss out on a lot of key things that are happening with your team and even around work. And so what we are constantly saying to our key people is, you have to help me see what I can't see. There's a lot I can't see, and you have to help me see those things. So whether you're taking photos and keeping me up to date on that particular thing, or you're speaking about it, or you're having a team member jump on a WhatsApp audio recording and giving me an update on that, like, help me to see what I can't see. It's really, really important. And you're gonna have to keep, we do anyways, have to keep reminding our staff, like, don't tell me what I want to hear, tell me what I need to hear. And so sometimes that might be hard. You might have to tell me something that, you know what, this thing is not going very good, and you probably will be really sad and bummed to know this, but I need to tell you. Like, they have to be communicated, those kinds of things. It's really, 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 really important. Another thing is, you have to be, because there's so much you can't see, you have to be dependent on the Holy Spirit. You just miss out on a ton. And so you have to be connected to God to be able to have His insight into what's happening on the other side, because you have this limited picture. You have this communication tools, you set up all this stuff, there's some photos being sent, and you have to piece it all together with what you're given. You know, when we're kind of sitting in normal life, the big pieces, like right now, I'm filming, there's a video camera, there's a computer open with a few random notes, and it's daytime and the trees are in the background. So that's the big picture. But what you can't see is that our daughter just came home from school, and she's in there talking with my wife that they're packing for a couple days away at the lake. We have someone coming over before we leave to have an important conversation, and our daughter's really excited about that, but we need to make sure we're navigating through that really well. Our neighbor next door was just out here, and they have a special needs son, and the relationship with that son and our son sometimes is a bit tough. And so you can't see all that stuff, but all that stuff is happening. It's the same with your ministry. When you're leading from afar, you see these big picture things in which you communicate, but there's all kinds of stuff you can't see. And so you're training your team to tell you those things that you can't see, and relying on the Holy Spirit to tell you those things. And so sometimes you got this gut feeling. I mean, I don't know how many times I'll say to Sam, I don't know for sure, but I'm sensing this. And I say it. And there's times when he goes, I don't sense that. I'm not sure what he's talking about. But most of the time, he doesn't say that. He'll say, you know what, there is something about that. Or you are right. Because we have to stay connected to the Holy Spirit, or we're going to miss all the things we can't see. Another thing is figuring out, we call them anchored pieces. What are these key things that anchor us? And are those things in place? So there's the ones for everybody. They're like, this particular meeting is really important, so that's an anchored piece. These one-on-ones are anchored pieces. The documents we use, anchored pieces. Whenever there's these certain kind of events, there's a follow-up with those events with photos and information. That's an anchored piece. And then there's these individualized kind of anchored key pieces. Like with this staff person, I need this from him because he's kind of in a development plan, kind of missing the boat on some things, and I'm kind of helping walk him through some development and change. And so these are the anchored pieces I need from him every week in order to make sure we're still moving forward. So you kind of have to figure out, what are these key pieces that keep us focused, and push into those. And like I said, for us, it's the one-on-ones, weekly leadership meetings, the documents that we share. If someone's not on Slack, if all of a sudden, I haven't seen anything from so-and-so on Slack in a couple of days. Well, guess what? They're going to get a message. Hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. What's cooking? Everything all right? Like those, and you might feel like, well, that's kind of micromanaging. Well, you can look at it as micromanaging, or you can look at it as support and relationship. Because micromanaging is all about the task, and let me tell you how to do the task. This is more, you've been given a task and you've been trained to do the task. I'd love just an update on that particular thing. And I don't care about a lot of things, in my role as a CEO, there's lots of things I don't care about. Like, I trust the team, you guys do your deal. But there's other things that are really, really important. For instance, we had 2 churches come together and put in a well at Cherish. So we were just dealing with rainwater collection before this and water from like the city, which was terrible, on and off all the time. And then if you're in dry season and that turns off, you're out of luck. So then we're loading the truck with these jerry cans and going to the lake. It's terrible. So we have these 2 churches come and put in this water system for us to the tune of $30,000. And so I was very connected to where's that going on site, how is the construction of it going, quality testing afterwards. Like, that was a key thing I was all over. And so that was an anchor piece. Sam knew he had to keep me apprised of that, because I wanted to make sure I was doing my part. Because the truth is, it all comes down to whoever's leading. And so the board of directors looks at me. If something happens at Cherish that's no good, it's ultimately my fault. So I have to figure out what are those things that are important enough for me to keep my fingers on. And, there's the key pieces like finances. I get weekly reports on finances, and we stay pretty tight to all of that. But I don't get weekly reports on maintenance of buildings and the grounds. I just don't, because I know that that's buttoned up and it's good to go, and I don't care about it. The risk is low on that. And so I let it go. And so you got to sort out what are the things you really care about. For us, spiritual development's key. So that happens all the time. We got some key anchored pieces around that, videos that we send, and key updates that we get. And so, yeah, I could go on and on about that. But just you got to figure out what are those key things, and then you got to push into them. And don't be afraid to ask how they're doing. That's not I don't think you're a good employee, so I need to ask the question. It's life gets in the way. We all get distracted. I'm here to encourage you to stay on course for the things that you're responsible for. And I had somebody, I was talking to a ministry in Uganda, and it's this young girl who's starting up this thing, and she's asking me what are some key things. And so I was talking around finances, and you've got to keep a good tight rein on that and some clear financial policies in place, and kind of walking through this. And she said, so are you telling me that I need to view everybody as a thief? And I said, no, you don't need to view everybody as a thief, but you need to view every single dollar or pound that comes into your ministry as you are responsible for it. And you need to be viewing you as the main steward of those resources. And so in the end, it's the same thing, but if you view everyone as a thief, that's a kind of a different purpose and a relational issue, as opposed to I'm going to be a really good steward and make sure that I care for every single pound and every single dollar that comes into our ministry. Last thing is, you must really work hard to have fun. You have to try harder to have fun, because there's a lot of those kind of goofy fun conversations that happen when you're just living life with each other. But when you are at a distance, there's not that kind of empty, dead space where you just laugh and joke and goof around. So you need to figure out, how do we have fun? And sometimes it is sharing a goofy meme or a silly video. Leah will often pop into the screen and she's got a goofy hat on, or just trying to be funny. Leah has these group of women that she meets with and they always notice when she cuts her hair or when she gets a new dress. And so if she does get something new, like a new shirt, she's always modeling it for them, and they just love that. So it's that, have that fun and goofiness part in there as well. Like, you have to really work hard at that. So there's just a bunch of random things. Leading from afar is hard. It's okay to say it's difficult. And it's okay to also embrace Zoom and Slack as your friend. Like, we're going to get through this. Don't really like it or enjoy it as much as if we were together, but it's what we got. And going to embrace it and allow it to be what it's supposed to needs to be. And so I think it's taken us some time to embrace it. Because especially it's tough when there's internet issues and an important meeting's supposed to happen and it doesn't because there's no connection. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, there's going to be things that'll fall through the cracks that wouldn't if you were on site. It's just going to happen. Just embrace all of it and know that you can still be effective and still move the ball forward and build the kingdom even from afar. And sometimes we actually even get in the way when we're on the ground. There's a lot of things that we might step in and do that really our team should be doing. And because we're not there to do it, they're forced to do it. And that's a good thing. So know that there'll also be some failures along the way because you weren't there to show them, teach them, or even do it yourself. But you know what? As we talked, the best classroom is failure. And sometimes you just got to let that happen and off you move forward. So, enough of me babbling. Hopefully there's a few helpful hints in there for you. If you have any questions about any of those things, just my email is brent@cherishuganda.org. Leah's email is leah@cherishuganda.org. Just reach out to us and we'll be happy to talk more about that. We have a passion for doing that well. We've been doing it for 4 years and always trying to learn and be better at it and help others learn as well. So happy to talk about any of it and anything really. If there's anything from our earlier session you want to dig in deeper, that'd be great too. All right, thanks guys. Have a great rest of your time.